Alright, so in the last video we did the goal seek, the what if analysis, a VLOOKUP, and all we have left to do is conditional formatting. So what I'm going to do is actually take this work that we did in our VLOOKUP. I'm going to use Control C to copy it and just paste it over here. We will use this gradebook and we'll do some conditional formatting to points. We could do the percent. We really could do any sort of conditional formatting wherever on this example. So maybe we'll start with total points. So if I look at total points and I go to conditional formatting, there's a bunch of different settings, options, styles. There's so much we could do. So I'll start up here. For this first one, you could do highlight a cell. So if I wanted to highlight all the cells greater than 400, I could click this and it would highlight all the cells greater than or less than. I could highlight cells in between 400 and 350. I could highlight cells that are equal to 445. All of these are here. So looking at total points and conditional formatting, there's a ton of different rules. Went through these top and bottom. If you want to just highlight the top 10, top 10%, bottom 10, bottom 10%, above the average, below the average, there's just a bunch of different ways that you can make something stand out. Data bars, it actually will fill up those that are closer to getting all of the points will have a full cell. If you look at this student right here with 453 points, they have a pretty full one. Same with 466, a couple above it. And a cell with less points, for instance this 324, has a lot less when you fill it with the data bars. And right here you could either do a gradient fill, you could do a solid fill, just a couple different options for you. The next one is color scales. And these are pretty cool because it will highlight, like this is the green, yellow, red color scale. And those students who are getting like a really good grade, like an A or an A plus, would be highlighted in green. Those students getting like a B or B minus would be like a yellow or orange. Those with a C would be an orange or red. And those who are getting like the lowest grade, for instance, this one with 290, is like almost a bright red. And so it makes that stand out possibly in a negative way. All of these different color scales are just different. You could do the reverse order where the highest scores are in red. You could change it to a green, white, red scale. All just so many different colors, so many different options depending on what you would like. And you could also change the color to be purple, pink, gray, blue, whatever color you really want. Next one is an icon set, and this just puts an icon next to it. For instance, I like the traffic lights, the stop lights, kind of just associates one color with it. If you want something to stand out, whether it's important, symbols, flags, stars, you could do ratings. You could just add these icon sets next to the cell. And so that's another option. Or you could just create a new rule. So if I go to new rule, it will give me a couple different options. I could format cells based on their values, a 2-color scale, orange or yellow. I could format only cells that contain a certain value. I could format the top ranked or bottom ranked values, above or below average. I could format duplicates, like anything that's duplicated or anything that is unique. Or I could use a formula to determine which one specifically to format. For me, I do like to format cells based on their value. You could choose a 3-color scale, 2-color scale, data bar. Let's do like an icon set. And so let's say I wanted to do something like this. 4 arrows, the colored arrows. Whereas anything like right here, when the value is in the top 75 percentile, it gets a green arrow. It gets like a yellow up pointed arrow. When it's in the top, it's less than the top 75%, but more than the top 50%. when it's less than 50% but more than 25%, or when it's the bottom 25%. And I could always adjust these. I could change it so like the top 90% get that value, you get the green arrow, and right here you see it updated that, and maybe the top 60% get this. And I could change the values, or if I even wanted to, I could change it just to a number or a formula or percentile. And so if I click OK, it will add those arrows next to it. Now for me, I don't know how many points it would take to make an A, or I don't know how many points. So instead I'm actually going to go back to conditional formatting, and I'm going to clear the rules from the selected cells. Or if I go to manage rules, I could just click on this and I can delete the rule. When I click OK, it will get rid of all of the conditional formatting. Instead, I'm going to focus on this final percentage. I'm going to center that to start so it's easier to see. And now go to my conditional formatting. Let's go to a new rule. And I want to format the cells based on their values. Let's go, I could do a 3-color scale, a data bar, different colors. Let's do that icon set again. This time I'll use these traffic lights. So, and I'm going to change these to numbers. So when the value, we'll give it a green light if the value is above an 85%. So greater than or equal to 85% gets a green light. When it's between, let's say yellow light is more than a 70% but less than an 85%. And for that third light, it will just be whenever it's less than 70%. Okay, so red will be under 70%. And so what it did is it gave a green traffic light to all those who are getting like an A or a high B. Gave a yellow traffic light to those who are, in the C range or the low B range. And then the red traffic light is just for those with lower than a C. Now if I wanted to update this, I could highlight that, go to conditional formatting, I could manage my rules, and right here if I wanted to manage this I could edit it, and I could even change that icon if I wanted to. Instead of doing all 3, I could possibly just choose to have 1. If I wanted to format only cells that contain, let's say I wanted to format cells that are between 80 and 90, I could format cells between 80 and 90. And now I could choose what format I want. I could choose the border. Maybe I wanted to have a green border, green dotted border outline. Okay. And I wanted to format it to have a light green fill. Okay. So if I just wanted to see those who are in the B, in between an 80 and a 90, I could click OK. And now it would adjust that rule just to show me those students who are getting any sort of B. So this is just a brief intro to conditional formatting. So many different things you could do. New rule. We did a lot with those icon sets, color scales, the data bars, and these are all just really quick ways to visually represent data to show you which values are more or which values are less. You could have several layers of conditional formatting, but remember, the more layers of conditional formatting you add, the more confusing it could be for someone trying to look at your spreadsheet. So if you ever have too many, you could always highlight, go to conditional formatting, you can manage the rules, or you could clear the rules from selected cells. Okay, so just a couple things to keep in mind. Huge skill to have, really helps out, but you could just click and manage them whenever you need to. So that was, like I said, a brief introduction to conditional formatting. You could format any values, you could format letters, you could format percentages. Great tool.